Welcome to this podcast for Brighton School of Business and Management students studying for the HNC and HND Level 4 and 5 courses. You're being asked, where possible, to bring in examples from your own work-based experience, but it's also important to include relevant examples from other organisations to illustrate the points that you're making that you have identified through your own research. In section 1, notice that here you're being asked to demonstrate an understanding of both concept, so that is the underlying theory, and also the process or practical application of the theory. On bullet point 1, you've been asked for an explanation of the various elements of the marketing process, so you need here more than just a definition. You need to include something about how the elements work and perhaps how the elements work together and why the elements are important. And remember that this section is about the theory and the practice, or the concept and the process of marketing. Bullet point 2 is looking at benefits and costs of a marketing orientation. Remember here that you need to look at more than just the financial benefits and costs to an organisation. You need to think about issues like social and environmental costs, and perhaps some of the more intangible marketing factors like reputation, brand image, social responsibility, and so on. And remember, you're being asked to relate your analysis to one selected organisation, although that doesn't necessarily preclude you from using examples of good or even bad practice from other organisations to support your arguments. On to section 2. Bullet point 1, I would interpret the term environmental here in its widest definition to include the whole range of external and largely uncontrollable factors that influence marketing decisions. Bullet point 2 is asking you to look at different ways you might choose to segment markets, and don't forget to say why you think different segmentation criteria are relevant in different markets, and possibly why other segmentation methods are not suitable. Bullet point 3 is asking you to explain how you would target a market or market segment for a defined product or service. So don't forget to first of all define in your assignment who you are targeting, how you have developed your targeting strategy, and why you think it would be effective. Bullet point 4 is looking at buyer behaviour. I think there are a couple of things here to keep in mind. First of all, you're being asked to demonstrate the effect of buyer behaviour, so make sure you include some examples in your assignment. And remember, the bullet point is not really about how buyer behaviour affects buying, it's about how it affects marketing activity. So it's really about the marketer's response to buyer behaviour in different situations. And finally, you're being asked to look at positioning or repositioning an existing product. So you could look at a product or service you feel is not positioned as effectively as it could be to appeal to its current market, or you might want to look at a product or service that you think could be taken to a new audience or a new market segment with careful repositioning. And of course, don't forget to justify why you think the product or service you have chosen would benefit from repositioning. On to section 3, which is essentially about McCarthy's 4 Ps of marketing and their derivatives. The bullet points are fairly self-explanatory. On bullet point 1, product development here will obviously cover new product development, but you should also consider development and modification of existing products to extend their life cycles and look at how that could sustain competitive advantage. Distribution has changed considerably for consumer and also for some business-to-business companies with the explosion in online shopping, so this needs to be covered in your assignment. Integrated promotional activity should include traditional forms of promotion as well as digital marketing in all its forms, and also the issues surrounding integrating on and offline marketing should be covered here as well. The other point worth making in this part of the assignment is the idea that although the 4 Ps have been around for a long time and are still very widely used, they're not really universally accepted as perhaps a suitable model in today's marketing environment. I think it will be worth making yourself aware of some of the other concepts that have been put forward. The 4 C's is quite a common one. I've even seen reference to the 4 E's, with experience and evangelism creeping into the marketing mix. So have a look at these other ideas and see if some of the elements from these other theories could be worked into your assignment, perhaps when you get on to the 5th bullet point, which talks about other elements of the extended marketing mix. On to section 4. This is looking at how the marketing mix is applied differently in different situations. The first bullet point covers specifically consumer marketing, and make sure that you justify why you have chosen the different marketing mix approaches that you are suggesting. Bullet point 2 is looking at business versus consumer marketing, and I've been inclined here to talk about the marketing of products and the marketing of services separately, as there are different issues surrounding both of them depending on whether they're being marketed in a consumer or a business-to-business environment, and include some examples here to illustrate the differences that you have identified. And on bullet point 3, which is looking at international versus domestic marketing, here again examples will be very useful to support your arguments, and also make sure you include the how and the why when talking about the differences. Finally, if you need any further guidance or assistance with this assignment, please contact your tutor.